of January 18th, 2024 will reconvene and call to order at 7:34 here at Thomas Edison School, room 19, 3701 Fairlawn Avenue, Fairlawn, New Jersey. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. Sorry, guys, not a math teacher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members of the public in attendance. Ms. Mancuso, can you call the roll?
Mr. Baldowski?
Here.
Mr. Banta?
Here.
Dr. Bertolini?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Favolovich? Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Ms. Yorman?
Present.
Mrs. Mahan?
Present.
We have a quorum.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with provisions of this act, the Fairlawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Star Ledger. The announcements posted for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, place, time, and thereof, was distributed on January 5th, 2024. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have Matthew Palmieri, Memorial Middle School Student Representative, Zachary Powell, TJ Middle School Representative, and Prima, you got it, Marangati, Fairlawn High School Student Representative. My maiden name is Fishelson, so I hear you. Why don't we start with our middle school students who are going to share their representative reports.
Our thanks to the PTOs at both schools for organizing various activities for students during the winter months. At Teacher, the PTO has sponsored game and dance nights for grades 5 and 6, as well as a winter dance for grades 7 and 8.
Drama is not the only thing at the air at the middle schools. And no, we're not talking about your typical middle school drama. We are talking about Drama Club. Both schools are busy preparing for the upcoming performances, and we hope you're able to join us. This year, Memorial is presenting Into the Woods. Evening performance dates are March 2nd and 3rd, and tradition continues as we once again invite fourth grade students from Forest and Creston, Westmoreland, along with members of the community from the Fairlawn Senior Center and Fairlawn for All Ages, to join us on February 29th for a matinee performance.
This year, the TJ Drama Club will be presenting Newsies. Our performance dates will be Friday, March 8th and Saturday, March 9th at 7 p.m. In addition, we will be hosting performances at 1st and 4th graders from Rose, Radburn, and Warren Point on Thursday, March 7th at 9:30 a.m. Any board members interested in attending is asked to contact the TJ office for complimentary tickets.
Last week and this week, students and staff at Memorial honored the remarkable legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a school community, we actively participated in commemorating this influential man. In addition to our inspirational morning announcements, students and staff have contributed to our annual Dream Towers project by writing their own dreams on clouds. These aspirations will be proudly displayed on the towers located in the main hallway right outside the auditorium.
Each year, TJ's Physical Education and Health Department organize a volleyball tournament for students and faculty in February, and teams are invited to donate to a select charity as part of their entry. This year, we are pleased to share that in partnership with the TJ PTO, we will be continuing our support of pediatric cancer care with donations to the Jackson Shrine and Bowery Parks.
Get ready for a belly warming event at Memorial Middle School. This February Memorial will once again trade touchdowns for Tims with our annual Super Bowl challenge. It's a school-wide showdown where we're not tossing footballs, but stacking cans of soup. So grab your ladles, don your aprons, and let's tackle hunger. Where the real MVPs are the ones bringing the cans for a good cause. All cans will be donated to the Fairlawn Food Pantry.
On January 17, 2022, former TJ student Peter Sisko died of complications from sarcoma. In his memory, Peter's parents have dedicated themselves to helping other families who find themselves caring for a child with cancer through the Peter Sisko Foundation. In the spirit of giving, Mr. and Mrs. Sisko have also organized what has become an annual blood drive, which will take place on Saturday, January 27, 2024, in the TJ Gymnasium. To learn how you can participate and schedule an appointment, please visit the TJ website and click on the Peter Sisko blood drive link.
At last month's board meeting, we talked about our Volley for Charity event. We wanted to leave you tonight with a quick update. Memorial was able to donate almost 500 toiletry items to the American Red Cross. And during the annual epic battle of the 8th graders versus the teachers, once again, the teachers were victorious. However, as a member of the 8th grade team, I would like to mention that the teachers had a ringer on the side, and Mr. Haney, who rumor has it played collegiate level volleyball. but it was all in good fun and for a good cause. One last final comment. We are already preparing for the March Madness basketball event, where we will once again donate to a charity and hopefully crush the teachers this time. So teachers, you should start practicing. Don't say I didn't warn you.
All right, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Mr. Baldowski and Mrs. Mahan on your new positions, and Ms. Brown, it's great to see you at the table. So this week has been a little bit tense because it is the week before midterms for Fairlawn High School, but it has been pretty fun because we had our delayed openings. Thank you, Dr. Dionisio. And rumor has it, we're maybe going to have no school tomorrow.
She's really good,
That's
isn't
what
she?
I
She's
did.
excellent.
I mean,
see.
I wouldn't want to disappoint the kids, you know.
Put the spoons under your table, under your pillows.
Yeah, the spoons, the ice
Pajamas.
cubes. I've learned about a lot of traditions that I've
Pajamas
never,
on backwards.
Inside ice cubes. Yeah. Dr. Dionisio, Just saying. Okay.
Pressure's tough in this room tonight.
I'm smiling. Since our last meeting, we had our December Spirit Week, which is a huge success. Feedback from our General Assembly, which was this past week, was very positive. And one of the highlights was our teacher and student swap day. And for reference, our General Assembly is during school day, and it's comprised of all our homeroom representatives, our executive committee, which are appointed, and our General Assembly, which are elected officers. And this week, we were very busy with our class council drive. So all 4 class councils from the 4 years have been collecting non-perishable food items and other necessities to donate to the Fairlawn Food Pantry. That is in tandem with the effort from the middle schools for the food pantry. And this week was also the senior class's Squishmallow fundraiser. A Squishmallow is, I sound stupid every time I try to describe it. It's essentially just a tiny stuffed animal, but you'd be surprised how much money high schoolers will pay for that. So it was a very successful fundraiser. Squishmallow, yeah. And the purpose of this was to have a study buddy going into midterms, so we were able to send it to any staff member, student member, going into midterms next week. And finally, there is a National Honor Society volleyball tournament. We have also a Volley for Charity on the 26th, which is a huge effort from the National Honor Society, where we get a bunch of donations from all local businesses and any families and friends. And it's a joint event for students to de-stress from our midterm exams and also have some friendly competition. So because it's January and we've been very busy with midterms, that is all I have for my report today. But it's great to see you all, and I'm excited for the new year.
Just say something. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your Dr. Martin Luther King Award.
Yes,
What?
nailed it.
Can you just tell us? Can you just tell us what that's about? I was interested.
So it is from a school nomination, and they pulled 20 kids from the state from various counties, but I was from Bergen County, so it was basically for academic excellence and community service, along with like your resume, like student activities. So that is something that Dr. Batiste nominated me for, that's what the certificates were for. It was a really nice ceremony in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They had Assemblywoman Siobhan Sumter speak, and she gave the keynote speech, and she was very inspiring. It was overall a very nice ceremony about like the future and how like kids can do more to keep his legacy alive, because it was his 95th birthday celebration. So,
Great.
yeah, thank you for everyone.
the only other thing I want to say is thank you, all the schools, for everything you're doing for our community, especially the food bank stuff, because it's very needed right now.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. You are welcome to stay, but at this time, if there are any moms or families that want to grab a quick picture, and then you are welcome to excuse yourself. Should you choose, go ahead. I took one already.
There goes the eye roll.
Smile.
Don't roll your eyes.
I did it. Move the paper and get another photo.
Actually-
Move the paper from the thing so you get the template.
Yeah.
I think,
There you go. And come back.
I was like, Matt, I have a really good. That's a good answer.
He won't yell at Mrs. Mahan. He'll yell at Mom though.
Thanks, guys.
Well done.
Thank you
Well
guys
done.
all so much. Please feel free to stay.
Mr. I'm sorry.
Any chance those Squishmallows, are they Fairlawn logoed Squishmallows?
What?
I was gonna say, I would have like died for those.
I know,
I sleep
I
with
think
Squishmallows.
I would want one of those if you
That's
ever.
an
It's like a little.
Why don't
I
I
sleep
know what
with
a
a big one.
squishmallow is?
You see the big
A
one?
giant Squishmallow. It's like a
And she's an
pillow.
adult.
I'm like, why don't I know what this
Wait,
is?
really?
Good night.
They're
Take care.
collectible. Thank you guys so much.
Congrats, awesome.
Can I ask you a quick question? When they're presenting, their backs are being shown.
I know, I was thinking that when you were saying that we need to.
Yeah, can they sit here and face that way?
I don't see why not.
Well, the only
I
thing I would
noticed
say is
that on
they're
the-
presenting to you, they're not
Yeah.
presenting to the
I understand that.
community, you know?
But we can still hear it, but they're not being televised, only
Yeah.
the back of their heads are.
Yeah.
That makes me think about thinking.
That is I noticed
Could
that
they
on
sit
YouTube as well. I'll speak
temporarily
to Dr.
where
Gizio
he's
about it.
sitting?
So
I noticed
we are
it.
actually going to transition into our superintendent's comments. Dr. Dini, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. And as far as the superintendent comments tonight, I have a number of updates that I'd like to be able to provide. First, I'd just like to thank the parent community for coming out at our first coffee and conversation on January 11th. It was very well attended. We met for about an hour and 45 minutes here in room 19. It was a very rich, productive conversation. I really appreciate the parents' input. There's going to be a communication going out again tomorrow. We will continue with the district level communications and actually be promoting it even more for next month's meeting, which is actually at 10 a.m. And then in March, we'll also have another 7 p.m. meeting. And then we really appreciate all the feedback from the parents. One of the things that we'll be doing in the coming weeks as well is sending out a survey, as I had mentioned, around thought exchange. I'm actually meeting with the PTA Council next week, and we'll be launching thought exchange survey with the parents first, and then we'll be in person at the PTA meetings, and then we'll be rolling it out via email in the coming weeks to the whole community. And once we do the parents, then we'll also go to our high school students for sure and get their feedback, and possibly even our some of our middle school students, at least the 7th and 8th graders, and making sure that the survey is age appropriate, to make sure that we're just hearing from them what the strengths in the areas that they want us to focus on. I think it's really important to go to our students because they should have voice and agency over their education. Now I'm going to update on a number of other things, and I'd just like to preface it by saying that our team has been working diligently, as always, which is the foundation and bedrock of this district with our faculty and staff. And in May and June, we're planning a number of presentations regarding the progress around a number of different initiatives in the district. So one of those presentations to the board and to the public will be around the entry plan, the superintendent entry plan, around the strengths and the areas for focus moving forward. Some of the other areas that have been topics of conversation prior to my arrival as superintendent is going to be focusing on the request for new world languages. So as you know, a number of months ago, last year, the request had come up several times for the district inquiry in order to explore Hebrew as a language. As part of the process, I've met with the team here. We're in the process of developing a process and a survey by which we are going to engage our students at the high school, as well as we are considering engaging our students in upper middle school to ask them what languages we currently don't offer that they would be interested in. And that's, I think, where we first have to start. We may have a great number of students and families who are interested in Hebrew, but we may also have a number of other languages that rise to the top for consideration. So there will be no new world languages for the 24-25 school year. At the earliest, if there is interest, there's a whole process that we would have to engage in, not only from identifying which courses have the highest level of interest, but also how do those courses apply to the workforce in the 21st century? How do we then make a decision around identifying which courses would merit adopting and then getting board approval on, plus developing curriculum, budgeting, recruiting and hiring, retention of staff. So there's a lot that goes into the planning. So at the earliest, not to mention the master scheduling component, which we are in the throes of right now, January through, say, April, May at the latest, to develop the schedule for September. So a new world language is not happening for September. We don't have enough time for that. Is it possible for September of '25? It's possible. We'll see where the next 6 months takes us, and we look forward to being able to provide an update to the board through our committees and through full board discussion in the coming months. So you can expect more on that later. As far as career and technical education programs, that's another topic that's a board goal. One of the 3 board goals and an area that has been a topic of conversation at the board level for several years. And what we're doing right now is we're conducting an analysis of where we're currently at. So what courses do we currently offer that address the CTE standards and course programs? What's our current student involvement? So are there courses that we're currently offering that's in our program of studies course bulletin that we have requests beyond what we're currently filling? So we may have a high amount of demand from our students for certain courses we currently have, but we're not able to fill them because perhaps we don't have enough staff. So that's another component that we're going to take a look at because we could scale that. That's low-hanging fruit right there. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to be surveying our current high school students. We're going to start there with what courses under CTE, and for that matter, courses across all disciplines, do we currently not offer that our student body would like us to explore? I think that information is going to be helpful to have constructive dialogue with our education committee and utilize that, once again, for purposes of budgeting, curriculum development, staff recruitment and hiring, and making sure that we could build a program. And when we're thinking about what these career and technical pathways look like based on the student interest, if there's enough student interest there, developing introductory courses for our students, looking at our current spaces within our building that we could enhance and renovate, and then also to be able to take a look at what other pathways we can create. So if there's an entry-level course, what's the subsequent course, the level 2, a level 3, and beyond, and what are the partnerships with our community businesses that we can engage in. So the team's working on that. First step is going to be to identify what courses we currently have in our handbook, in our course bulletin that we can tap into and expand upon, and then what new courses do we need to look at, and then building it internally. And then if it requires, improvements to capital structures or capital improvements, that's something that we can then plan for more long-term, 1, 2, 3 years down the road that takes some time. Another topic of conversation, as you all know, has been gifted and talented. There was the audit that was conducted last year. Most recently, Dr. Lakatina has engaged the members of our gifted and talented committee, and in December they had a follow-up meeting subsequent to the audit and the recommendations that came forward from the presentation in the fall with Meredith Thomas. And the recent meeting in December was in an effort to establish with committee members the mission, the vision, and the belief statements for the gifted and talented program. And the next steps will be to continue to take a look at the recommendations that are set forth within that, and then being able to identify what next steps will occur for the remainder of this year, and what recommendations will occur for 24-25. So Dr. Lakatina and the team are planning a presentation in May or June to provide an update to the board and to the public. And then last but not least, big topic of conversation is always around, and Ms. Mancuso is smiling because she knows what's coming, enrollment capacity study, and taking a look at the projections in the district. So she and I and other members of our team have been very busy, had very, very fruitful conversations with our principals and our central office admin team over the past 2 months regarding where our budget process is, what the needs are from our principals and the supervisors within our buildings, what do our current enrollment projections look like for next year and the year after, not only within each classroom, but within each school, and then also moving up our students from elementary to middle and middle to high school so we can project out not just what's going to happen in September, but then what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years. A lot of considerations. I can tell you that, as I know, there have been, through the referendum and capital improvement, there have been additions on the buildings. I think we're all of the mindset that if we need to build additions, we will, but that should be a last resort. What we're doing first is examining how are we currently utilizing our classroom spaces? How are we utilizing our building space, our building usage? Are there programs or schedules that could be modified in order to accommodate our space issues? If there are any, and if there are any, where do they specifically exist? So there are a lot of strategies and problem solving that could be engaged and employed before we start building additions. I'm not sure that we're quite there yet in regards to needing to add on to buildings. And if there are, we'll be able to analyze and assess that. And part of this that our team and Ms. Mancuso are working on with our architects is looking at that capacity study from a couple of years ago. And we're going to be engaging the demographer with getting some more accurate numbers because that's almost 2 years old now. And we want to be able to make sure that our live birth study with our 0 to 5-year-old children is as accurate as possible. And then make sure that we have accurate enrollment projections so then that way we can have a really solid recommendation moving forward around how to address any enrollment issues if there are any. And the conversations with our principals has been really helpful to make sure that we're taking a look at those numbers. And I think we're in a really solid place right now. So you can expect more in May and June. So I wanted to share that because, without the board and the public hearing it, it's easy to assume that nothing's being done, but there's a lot being done. And the result of all of that work and analysis will be forthcoming in May and June. So I wanted to share that with the board and with the public tonight. So thank you, and that concludes the superintendent report.
Thank you very much. My apologies if I don't say your name properly. We have a presentation for the 22-23 audit by Mrs. Walla.
Thank you for having me tonight to present the results of the audit. All the board members should have a copy of my 3-page financial summary presentation, and we'll go through that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions as we go along. So at the top of the first page, we have the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district, with the bulk of the instruction, administration, capital outlay, student transportation, maintenance expenses are reported. That budget is supported by 3 different types of revenue. Sorry, I'll speak a little louder in here. So you have the local revenue, which is principally the local tax levy. So the final budget was $97.095 million. The actual revenue was $99.85 million. They were in excess of about $2.75 million, and that excess was due to a variety of items, and one was an excess in tuition revenue of $328,000, miscellaneous revenue excess of $774,000, interest earnings of a little under $1.5 million, interest earnings on the capital reserve $101,000, and transportation fees for individuals of $49,000. So for state revenue or state aid, final budget $17.5 million, actual $20.6 million. typo there. That excess is due to the fact that you had excess extraordinary aid and non-public transportation. It's sometimes difficult to anticipate what you're going to get for extraordinary aid because the state applies a percentage at the end of the year and you don't know until June or July what that's going to be. And then federal revenue is Medicaid Transportation Program or Assistance Program, or what we call SEMI. So that was budgeted at 60,000, actual 87, excess revenue 27,000. So there was an overall excess in revenue of 5.87 million, which is very good. Next, we have appropriations or expenditures. The final budget was 128 million. And the actual expenditures were 113 million point four. Unexpended 15 million. Included in that 15 million is 3.2 million of encumbrances. What happens is sometimes there's purchase orders which are placed for goods or services before the end of the year, and they're not received, the goods or the services rendered, so they get rolled over into the next year's budget. And then truly unexpended was 11.977 million. And then underneath we have the fund balance, which started the year at 44.9 million. And these are the components of how we get from the beginning fund balance to the ending fund balance. Through the budget process, you withdrew 478,000 from the capital reserve to debt service. And you also withdrew some money from the capital reserve to support projects in the budget of 5.2 million. Then we add in budgeted interest on the reserve, so 2,000. Additional 2 million of surplus was used to support the budget. Liquidated the prior encumbrances of 6.142 million. We add in the excess in revenue and unexpended budget balances. And the fund balance in the general fund at the end of the year is 52 million. But if you'd be kind enough to turn to the second page, it's really important that we go over the components of general fund balance because some of those funds are set aside and restricted for specific purposes. First, we have the capital reserve. At June 30, 23, we had 26.6 million. If there was an increase of a little over 5 million, that was due to a year-end transfer of 9.45 million. The board has the ability in June of every year to do resolution to deposit funds in the various reserves. So as we saw on the other page, interest earnings have really picked up during the year. So the capital reserve had 103,000 in interest. There was a budgeted withdrawal to debt service, as I mentioned on the previous page, of 479,000, and there was a net budgeted withdrawal of 4.092 million. Now I say net budgeted withdrawal because if there's money that's not spent of the budgeted withdrawal, we add back in. And then, so the capital reserve, very important, especially within a 2% budget, and use that for the local share projects in the long range facility plan. It's always very good to have. Also a maintenance reserve. The district has 5.4 million. Those can be used for projects in the allowed maintenance or M1 program. That increased 500,000, and that was due to the year-end deposit for that as well. Then you have an emergency reserve that pretty much stays steady with a little bit of interest earnings. The emergency reserve is a little harder to get money out of. It can be used during the budget process for an excess in health benefits above 4%. Or for security improvements. Otherwise, you would need to go to the Commissioner of Education for approval. And they're looking for, to get that approval, it would be something that would be for a thorough and efficient education. Then we have the Unemployment Compensation Trust. A couple years ago, the GASB moved this activity into the general fund. That's used for unemployment claims. And then we have excess surplus that was calculated at June 30, 22, which you're using it in the 24 budget of 1.975 million. Then we had calculated excess surplus at 6/30/23 of 8.6 million, so that will need to be used in the 25 budget. Then there are what we call some assigned funds. Those are the encumbrances I mentioned on the previous page of 3.2 million. And then we have unassigned and the unassigned is 4.7 million, it's at the maximum. Now, you will see that there's a difference from June 30, 22 to 23. The Department of Education had allowed districts to have unassigned fund balance of 4% for 2 years, but that was moved back to 2% at 6/30/23. And we had had this 2% for many years. At one point in time, back in the day, it used to be 6, then they moved it down to 3, and it's been 2 for quite a long while. But overall, the district is in a very good financial condition. I do have an excess surplus calculation on the 3rd page. It's simply a mathematical calculation. When we take the total general fund expenditures of 112.9 million, then we times it times 2%. That's the 2.258 million. I have integrator of or above of 250. Some districts, their calculated amount might be under 250, so they allow them to bump it up. But obviously, you have a large school district here, so it's the 2.258 million. Then if you had a excess revenue above the budgeted amount for non-public transportation or extraordinary aid, which is the 2.454 million, you can take the 2.2 million and the 2.4 million, add them together, and come up with the 4.7 million. So that's your total maximum unassigned fund balance. Then we do another mathematical calculation where you take your total fund balance, subtract out all the money that's been assigned or restricted for specific purposes already, which is the encumbrances, the maintenance reserve, the capital reserve, the emergency reserve, the unemployment compensation reserve, and the excess surplus from the prior year. And then we get an amount, which is the 13.3 million. We compare it against the 4.7 million, and if there is an amount there below, you do have excess surplus of 8.6 million, and like I said, you're at the 2%. And then if you'd be kind enough to turn back to the first page, I'd like to touch on 2 different other areas. We have an enterprise fund, the food service fund, or the cafeteria, which is considered enterprise fund or business type activity. They're supposed to operate like a business and be self-supporting. It has something called net position. That's another term that the GASB, who sets all the accounting standards for us, tells us we have to use, but it's the same thing essentially as fund balance. So that net position increased 1.367 million to 4.114 million. And that increase was due primarily since the seamless summer option, which allowed for the students to have a free lunch, ended at the end of August. We're back to the normal school food operation. So all the districts saw a big increase in daily sales, and as well as a decrease in operating expense. So that also has the food service fund a very healthy net position or fund balance. Then you have a couple of long-term liabilities or long-term debt. You have serial bonds of 38.475 million, which finally mature in fiscal year 44. Compensated absences payable, which is a required calculation of the unused sick and vacation time of the staff of 626,000. What will happen is when the budget comes around each year, it'll be budgeted for how much you think that the retiring staff's payout will be. So it's not as though that's due and payable at one specific point. And then you also have 18.338 million in net pension liability for the PRS pension system, the public employees retirement system. That is the pension system that district is responsible for the liability for. Of course, you're only paying out the bill that you get from the Division of Pensions each year. That's unlike the teacher's pension and annuity fund, which the state is responsible for. And the PRS pension system is typically your staff that are secretaries, aides, custodians, bus drivers. So can I answer any questions on the financial results? Yes.
So I just wanted to double check. So the district has $52 million in excess.
The total general fund surplus is the 52 million, grand total.
The grand total of all of it.
Right, yeah, the excess surplus is just the, well, the excess surplus being used in 24 is the 1.975 million. And the amount that you'll have to use in the 25 budget is the 8.65 million.
And one more thing, how much did we spend last year on healthcare costs?
Well, there is a line item, let me
Laughing at it now, or you?
It's online. I can look
We
it up.
budgeted this year 11.8 million. So I'm gonna say it's around that number, around. Oh, no, we probably, I just did this calculation, it's like
Yeah, it's on page 94, but what I have here, and, you know, there's different types of health benefits included in there, so it's probably like, and I'm certainly no expert on it, but it would include medical and dental and vision and whatever benefits that the district offers. But what we have shown here as expended was 10.748 million.
Dental?
How much was that?
10.748 million.
Thank you.
And it's net employee contributions.
And that's net of the employee contributions.
That,
So that doesn't include.
Thank you very much first for the presentation. Just a general question. From my experience, it seems like a very solid budget and fund balance.
Yes.
So in your opinion, compared to other districts, how does Fairlawn stand?
Very strong.
Very strong. That's, okay, that's what I thought. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay.
Then I'd like to go over the results of the
Absolutely.
audit, yes. So, we have one formal recommendation. I would like to stress the fact that, the financial records were in excellent condition. We made very, very minor adjustments. That's certainly a credit to Ms. Mancuso and Ms. Beatty and their staff. We did have, the one recommendation we have relates to special education extraordinary aid. That calculation and the application is very involved. So we noted that there were certain costs that were over-reported and certain, that was mainly to do with the salary of the aides. You had the ability to use either an average or the actual cost of the aide that was providing the services to a particular student, because the application is, you report on all these individual students, so it, like I said, it's quite an undertaking. And then we had noticed that certain other types of costs for different services overstated, others were understated. But just, this district is very responsive. If we offer any suggestions, they very much quickly are addressing them. We will be coming out in May when the application is due to take a look at the current year's application to see if we notice anything. And that will be before the application is submitted, and I feel very confident that it will not be a recommendation next year. And then the other comment that I wanted to mention, and I don't see this as a bad thing, and it's very common in any district that participated in the seamless summer option over the last couple of years, but you have what we call net excess cash resources in the food service fund of 2.6 million. But I think it's great. It gives you the opportunity to buy things that you need for the food service fund. I mean, I work with some districts who actually have to fund the cafeteria from the general fund money, so having more money rather than less is a positive thing. We always include a couple of suggestions to all our districts. One of them is on the COVID-19 funding. We did review the COVID-19 funding, the ESSER funds. We didn't notice anything, but they are coming out and looking at these grants, and they're very tough when they come out. So, and then the other one is about, that we offer to all our districts, is the Food Service Management Company. They have a monthly operating statement, and we're just suggesting to all districts that you review that on a monthly basis. I know Melissa does that, so it's not a big issue here, but we include all those in our report. And then we had noticed, we had made a suggestion that Ms. Mancuso's bond be at the same level of the treasurer. It was at the required level, and that I know has already been addressed. So like I said, anything that we suggest or bring to their attention that, you know, could possibly be an issue is always addressed right away, and that's very impressive. So like, I wanted to thank Ms. Mancuso and Ms. Beatty for all their help we ask a lot of questions, and everybody's trying to get their own work done at the same time, and we really appreciate their help. But overall, very excellent audit.
Just a similar question, having only one recommendation in an audit is outstanding, in my opinion.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Please.
I just wanted to, obviously, thank you, Heidi. I wanted to specifically thank my right hand, Melissa, for doing such an outstanding job on the audit. The business office, special services, you know, it really does take a village to, this is a large budget, it's a big school district. As Heidi said, everyone has been really responsive. It's only our third audit with Nisavagia, so I think it's natural that as we have different sampling, we are going to uncover things that have been done the same way for a long time, that just, you know, the process needs to be dusted off and revamped. So I agree with you. I don't look at any of those things as negative things, but rather just a growing experience. You know, we're happy that you take the due diligence to really get into the weeds and look at our financials and help us improve. So thank you for another great, successful year. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we are going to move into the public portion on the agenda items only. Please limit your questions at this time to the resolutions on the current agenda. Please provide your name and municipality in which you reside and sign in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and specify the resolution you are referring to in your question or comment. This is not a dialogue between the speaker and the board. All comments will be taken at once, and when public comments are complete, the board president and district administration will respond as best they can. During the public portion of the meeting for other business, the same procedure will apply. The floor is open. Mr. Berman.
You guys have nobody here, you know.
Hold on, let me start the clock. Hold on,
Definitely start the clock.
let me start the clock.
Definitely
I
start the
just
clock.
wanted to.
Clock started.
Two things I just wanted to.
Your name,
do.
sir?
I wanted to.
Name and address,
My
please.
name is Ronald Barbarillo, I live in Fairlawn, and I'm a citizen of Fairlawn for 30 years. Alright? You're not getting my address. No, in all seriousness, I wanted to congratulate all the retirees. Once again, we're losing some teachers that have been here 31, 26 years. Yes, I did read the agenda. In case anybody's wondering. So again, it shows you that the type of school district we have, that most teachers that come here stay here for a long time. And that's a tribute to this district. The second thing too is I want to thank all the schools and some personal people for their donations. As you can see, again, once again, PTAs and PTOs do a tremendous job, help give back to the kids for a lot of different things. And the last thing is, on a lot of the activities the kids are going on, it's great to see the Bridges kids and some kids going to different locations to learn about how to live life on life's terms. I will say one thing, and the reason I say this is because recently my wife lost her aunt, and they have a 42-year-old child, well, not child, he's a man, Sean, and he's got Down syndrome. But the thing is, Sean knows from going through stuff like this, how to be able to live on his own because it's going to be hard without his mom. So those activities are very, very important to these kids, and I'm glad to see that the board supports it, so that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Do you have
I love
anything,
the time today.
do you have anything on the Google Doc?
Just refresh it, double check. Yes, well, it says that we have Olga Ginsburg, but I do not have an actual, oh, I'm sorry. I do. Would you like me to read it into the record?
Please.
Olga Ginsburg noted, I would like to thank Dr. Dionisio for hosting Coffee and Conversations meeting. It was such an amazing opportunity to provide feedback and share concerns, ask questions, and meet other parents. Sorry, I can't see the rest of it. I apologize. actually don't have access to read the rest of it. But she said that it was very warm.
You could see it up top.
Yeah, it's at the end and I only have view access.
I only do as well.
Okay. I don't know who owns it, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Franco, it says a very open and welcoming, but I can't get to the rest of it, see, 'cause I can't get in here.
Yeah, I don't have editing access to see the whole comment.
I'll have to fix that 'cause I can't get in here. Okay. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I got it. I'm sorry, Michelle. It was such an amazing opportunity to provide feedback and share concerns, ask questions, meet other parents, a very open and welcoming environment. I highly encourage all the parents to attend the next session scheduled later in February and March. Thank you again, Dr. Dionisio. And that is all we have on the floor.
Okay, great. Board comments. Mark.
Yes, I have a couple of comments tonight. First, I wanted to thank Danielle and Melissa and the rest of the business staff for the excellent report that we just received. I'm talking about 7A right now regarding the new hirees. I've made mention of this in the past, and I'm going to make mention of it again. In the past, we used to receive a bio on each new teacher hiree. The bio gives information to the board members why a new teacher may be starting on step 7 rather than on step 1, or step 12 rather than starting on step 1, which is a significant amount of difference in pay that that person is going to receive. So it's more of a clarification. When the previous superintendent was here, they provided a booklet for us that was given out prior to the board meeting. I didn't think that was sufficient because if you had a question on any of the new hirees, there wasn't really sufficient time in order to get a reply. So I'm requesting again that on the agenda for all new teachers being hired, that there be a bio written on that person telling past history of positions that they've had, which could possibly then justify why the individual is on such a high step. Number 2, 7B regarding resignations. I see that there for this month is the high amount of resignations. I'm just wondering whether or not it's something that the district is doing and the district is responsible for. I'm wondering whether or not the district compiles information why specific people do retire, because if it is something that the district is doing, perhaps we can improve upon that to retain more of our individuals. The next one has to do with monthly updates that Dr. Dionisio spoke about. I was going to speak about this, and I'm glad that he spoke on some of these items before. There are many topics that come forth from the board members as well as from the community that need monthly updates. And if monthly updates are not given, whether it's a sentence or 2 sentences, to me that's a monthly update. If they're not given, then it can be misconceived as not working on it at all. So I am asking that monthly updates, no matter how insignificant you think it may be, are given so that the parents know that something's happening. For instance, community service. I've been asking for a community service now for God knows how long. We had an education committee meeting on last month. There is no update given to this board or to the community on where we're going with this community service. To me, it seems, and I hope I am wrong, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but to me it seems like put it on a back burner, somebody will forget about it, and we'll go through the next year without having community service. But I am going to bring this up every month. I think there's enough concern from board members on this panel of 9 to want to see that community service be implemented, and it is going to
behoove the administration to work more quickly than not, because in another couple of months, I'm gonna take a vote to have it implemented in September. And if you've been putting this on the back burner and you're not fully committed to investigating into whether or not we can do it, we're gonna be blindsided come September if we have the 5 votes to implement it in September. So I'm asking, please make sure that we follow through on these things. The other one was, as Dr. Dionisio made mention of, the world language. The world language topic came to us approximately 1 year ago in February or March, if I am not mistaken, to be acted upon. There was supposed to have been a survey from the students so that we could have more information on this. There is no survey that has been done, as far as I know, yet. We have now pushed this back to May and June, so as you stated, the likelihood of it being implemented in September is nil. We're doing budgeting at this time, and it's not really something that could not have been worked on, in my estimation. And we're really not being given updates now. We're gonna be given it in May and June, which is definitely too long. And then there's a possibility it's not gonna be implemented in 25 either, which is totally wrong. So I am asking community service, I'm asking that the world language be updated on a monthly basis so that we know what's going on. And the last topic that I want to speak about has to do with HIBs. And I want to start off by saying that I am not making any political statement whatsoever by the comments that I'm about to make. And that this subject on HIB has really been haunting me for many years. I want to comment on the 5B HIB, number 5B HIB cases. In the past, I've had to sit here and listen to the harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases on a monthly basis. And every time I listen to them, I cringe. It appeared to me that the community, Fairlawn, the state, New Jersey, and the federal government have a double standard effectively judging on what appropriate behavior is. How can we as a board, in good judgment, discipline our students of Fairlawn District by following the New Jersey HIB laws when we hear on a daily basis politicians who make fun of the indigent, the handicapped, and political opponents with no repercussions whatsoever? Do we think that our students do not listen to all of this and wonder, why can the politicians get away with this and yet we can't and we're disciplined? Therefore, how can we, as a board, hold our students accountable for inappropriate behavior if our role models are not being held to the same standard? Thank you.
Rita.
Okay, so I'm gonna be abstaining on 5B on the HIP cases because I think that Mr. Dionisio did a couple of the HIP cases before the meeting, and then he did it after the meeting, and I left after the meeting, so I wasn't there for all of it. I'm gonna abstain on 10G, the Fairlawn Education Association settlement, because I was not privy to any of the conversations when they did the settlement, so obviously I wasn't present, I'm not there. The next thing is, I wanted to say thank you to the Forest PTA, Lindcrest PTA, Mills PTA, Radburn PTA, Elizabeth Etterson, for all their wonderful gifts this month. I have a concern about 7E, number 1, which is the math curriculum writing. I'm a math teacher, and one of the things I do is I looked at the new curriculum standards and I wanted to know what is the major changes. And as I looked at the standards, the district is, right, today is approving just for the high school, 201 hour. That's equivalent to about 7 months of full-time pay, full-time working 35 hours a week. And I'm not understanding, how did they come up with a 201 hour? Can somebody please explain? And according to the state, changes are only for statistics and a couple of other courses and couple of standards. I'm asking a question.
Is that it?
No, I have more questions, but that was my first question.
I think we respond to all the questions at the end.
Okay. My second question is, exactly what subjects in the high school for math are going to change the curriculum for? I'm not understanding that. I asked that on my write-up. It was just as all of it, but according to the standards, that doesn't seem the same thing, so I'm a little concerned about that. The next thing, that's all I wanted to talk about today.
I'm sorry, Ms. Pavlovich, can you just repeat the last one? What subjects are changing?
In the high school, what what subject, geometry, algebra, in what subject, because it's 201 hour.
Thank you.
So that's a lot of hours. If any of you can please explain.
Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Balowski.
Just one comment to highlight what the public member, Mr. Barbarillo, mentioned. Our retirees, thanking them, over a century's worth of service. Did you calculate?
116 years.
You got it right this time. I'll leave it to that then, but thank you to them.
Ms. Brown.
I just wanted to congratulate all the retirees as well. I did not do the math, so I knew other people would. I also wanted to thank all of our PTOs and PTAs for their continued support of our students. As a current member of 2 of them and a 4th grade committee parent, I get to see firsthand the joy that these donations bring to our students throughout the year, and especially to our students who are participating in their final years in their schools before they move up to their next schools. So their donations are invaluable, so I just wanted to thank them.
2 points. One, I want to agree with Mark in a couple areas. One, to congratulate Melissa and Danielle and the entire business office. Having only one recommendation from the audit, I think she left, is outstanding. Having such a solid fund balance for all the different areas is very, very helpful if there's any crisis for the school district. So again, it's a lot of hours, I know that, so congratulations to both of them, and certainly thanks for all your efforts. Secondly, I was appointed this year the chair of the education committee, and I will clearly state to Mark that we will have community services on the next agenda for us to talk about, to present to the board, and also the world language also will be an issue that we may not agree on that one, but we'll certainly talk about it in education. But thank you for bringing those points up.
Thank you.
Hold on a second. Anybody else have please?
So, I also go along with everybody, what everybody said, so I don't want to repeat. But I will talk about the retirees because one of the retirees was a teacher at Radburn School for my son when he was in 3rd grade, many years ago. And Miss Ruane, and she was just an amazing teacher, thoughtful, helped kids out in many different ways. And our family, especially Jeffrey, was blessed to have a teacher in 3rd grade like Miss Ruane, and I thank her very much for that. And then 6, I'm going to talk about the education for teachers, aides, etc., professional development. Fantastic that we're having all these programs for professional development. So everybody just learns a little bit more. That'll come back to our children in the district. So thank you.
Rita.
I had 2 more questions that I wrote about the yearbook. First, it says, in my write-up, it says that we spent $42,000, but I was that the district will pay. I was just wondering, are the kids paying for the yearbooks, and why is it only $350? Is that what it's ordered? So can you please explain out of the 42,000, how much is the district actually getting back from the yearbooks?
Ms. Brown?
I also wanted to thank Danielle and Melissa. I had it written down, but I forgot it, so thank you guys.
Do you and Melissa want to answer those questions?
I'll turn it over on math curriculum. Dr. Lakatina, do you have anything that you can provide? I know we provided some responses to the board questions a couple of days ago, but I don't know if there's anything else based on the questions that you'd like to add.
Just basically that, every curriculum needs to be looked at and reviewed to make sure that the new standards are in the curriculum. Again, there are new curriculum that just came out October, and everything has to be in place by September. So we are getting a jump on it by doing some of our curricular work now. In conjunction with the math supervisor, he went on multiple days of PD with the State Department of Education to talk about what those changes are in the curriculum. There are at least 7 pages of information from the crosswalk between the two, from 2016 until the 2023 standards. And then all that information needs to be changed in the curriculum and then put into Atlas online. And also, there are cross-curricular standards from math that are in lots of other curricula as well. So we need to make sure that those are correct. So these are estimated numbers that the math supervisor, based on his knowledge, his PD that he went to, what he believes is, again, an estimate of the time. They are maximums, and if the individuals that are doing the curriculum writing don't need it, they don't use it. So that's, basically what, what transpired to get to those numbers. So we will be looking at every math course that's offered in the high school.
Okay. And then there was a question about the yearbook.
That is actually part of the student activity fund, so that's managed at the building level, so I would have to ask the yearbook advisor. I know on the board questions, it was asked what's the board contribution to the yearbook? So the answer to that is that we pay for all of the advisors. So the yearbook advisor, that's paid for by the general fund, and that's the board's contribution. But I'd be happy to follow up with you on that.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, the floor is closed. And can I get a motion for 3A?
So moved.
Second.
You call the roll. Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Abstain.
Dr. Bird-
last month.
Thank you. Dr. Bertolini?
Yes.
Ms. Brown was not here.
Abstain.
Abstain.
I wasn't here.
Ms. Favolovich?
Yes?
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Ms. Yurman?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's probably just,
Right, okay.
Yeah, no,
So, can I have a motion for 5A and B?
So moved.
Second.
and we are going to have an amendment to the HIBs, and this is adding LS 01-2023. This was a parent appeal in December, and the recommendation is to affirm the prior HIB finding, and that will be denying the parent appeal. That did not appear on the December agenda, so we're doing this to make sure that action's taken.
And denying parent
Appeal.
appeal.
Ms. Mancuso, can you call the roll?
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes on A and abstain on B.
Dr. Bertolini?
Yes, except for 5B, TJ 11. Vote no.
TJ 11.
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes on 5A, abstain on 5B, yes on 5C.
Ms. Favolovich,
Abstain on 5B.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes, abstaining on LS 012023.
motion passes.
Can I have a motion for 6A through D?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I have a motion on 7A through E and G?
So moved. Second.
Is that side alive or
Miss-
what?
Man, come on.
Do you want to say anything to Ed?
Not really, not at this time.
Mark, I was gonna say.
Mark, I'll meet you in the hallway later, Mark.
A through E and
Is that a
G.
threat?
There's no items on it.
There's no items on it.
Got it.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich,
No on 7E1.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
So moved.
Can I have a motion on 8A through D?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Pick it up now.
Good job, team.
That was me first. This
I
Jean
know.
over here,
Yeah.
not the other Jean.
Oh, Young Gene.
I know.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Yes.
motion passes.
Can I have a motion for 9A through C?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
It's Jean and Mike.
Now we're getting
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Favolovich,
Are we doing 10?
we're on
No,
nine.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes. Now we're on 10A through,
Can I have a motion for 10A and C through K?
So moved.
Second.
There is nothing in this part. Can you call the roll?
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Okay, hold on. Yes on A, C, D, E, F,
She's abstaining on 10G.
yes. Well, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
got it. Ms. Favolovich,
Don't laugh, that's my first
Abstain on
one.
10G.
on 10G.
Will the gallery please stand in order?
Don't have to have you removed.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Yorman,
Which one is this one?
Yes.
We have to wait past 10, yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
I'll be abstaining on 10G as well.
okay, motion passes.
Show off.
Okay, we are moving into public and board comments on non-agenda items. This is the public and board comments on non-agenda items only. Please limit your questions at this time to non-agenda items. Please provide your name and municipality in which you reside and sign in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. This is not a dialogue between the speaker and the board. All comments will be taken at once, and when comments are complete, the board president or district administration will respond as best they can. The floor is open to the public.
Point of order. They could make comments about the agenda. They can make comments on whatever they
I
want.
am just reading what it says.
I'm just saying that. Is that correct, Attorney? I know. Is that correct, Attorney?
I think that the point, technically, yes, you're correct. I think the point is to inform the public that they may speak beyond the agenda.
I read verbatim, it's my first time.
I'm overruled, fail on the jury. I just want to make one comment. It's great to see all of you getting along and laughing at things we didn't have a year ago. So it's nice to keep it up because that's what it's all about. Remember, it's about the kids. Have a good time tonight. Great job.
Thank you. Do we have anything on the Google,
Oh, no, Google Docs
Google
first.
Docs.
Now that I know how to read it properly. I'm a Google Doc user, more of an,
No pressure.
Microsoft Excel.
There is nothing else on the Google Doc.
Okay, thank you for the backup.
You're welcome.
I will close the floor. Lisa, Mark, Jean, Joe. Jean, Joe, Rita. Did I miss any? Joe, Rita? Lisa.
Okay, so there's one that's coming a little bit late. On election night, I was approached by a senior who was volunteering and collecting votes at the same polling station that I did. And she wondered why there's no more trips that go out through the community school. There used to be a lot of trips to theater, going to like Lancaster for a day or an overnight, and there's very limited trips that are happening since, let's say, and I was trying to get out of her, like, kind of where she was coming from, and it was more or less what's happened in the last, like, 5 to 10 years, that they're, like, it's gotten less and less and less as time has gone on. So, she was just, I'm just bringing it out there that that was a.
Just to clarify, you mean trips for adults?
For adult seniors. And we get, like, I know in my house, we get, Midland Park and Glenrock, but, and they have some trips, but, we had a ton of trips, I know when, way back, when my kids were in school, and we used to get the booklet and everything, and we were on trips, so that was just, pass that along, that there is people out there, and I'm approaching that mile mark, so I'd be interested in doing that as well at some point.
Yeah, I wanna get the
And
booklet.
the other one, I'd like to make a motion to discuss or get an update with, with regard to, having our meetings not only on YouTube, but also having it on Fairlawn TV, because I know some of the elderly people don't have internet access, and so it's better for them to watch it, who get cable TV and everything else. So I just wanted to make that motion.
Do you mind? I could have seconded that, I didn't know.
Update that, about the microphone.
No, I didn't know that that was a second.
I can do it. Either way.
So we have a motion on the table. Can you
And
just
then
like-
we
can
got a
you just-
second.
Yeah, so it's just, are we doing discussion or?
So, just so I'm clear, the motion is to discuss this issue?
Yeah, or provide an update as to is anything moved forward.
So fantastic, and we have a second from Rita, so what I'm gonna do first for you.
If any board members are opposed to, if not, so
No.
let me know.
So we don't have to go do no opposition. I'm gonna ask Dr. Dionisio to share an update that was shared with another member of the board who brought it up. And then if we'd like to open for discussion, we certainly can, but I think an update would.
Perfect, that's what I'm.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Floor is yours.
Ms. Megan. So a question from a board member did come up within the past few weeks. I know that this has been a topic that's been brought up in the past. Prior to the question coming up, actually, myself with the IT department and our administrative team, it's no surprise that the audio quality on the YouTube video has not been great. So we're doing a couple of things. Our IT department, I'd like to commend them. They moved on it pretty quickly. So at the last meeting, the audio has improved because they made some internal adjustments. However, the sound quality still is not ideal. So we are actually waiting for some new microphones that are going to be provided, and we expect those for the February meeting. So one of the things that we're doing is we're addressing the audio quality component first here in this room to make sure it works correctly to our level of satisfaction. The other thing that I suggested is that, and I continue to suggest, is I think it needs to become, once we get to that audio quality, we could discuss it, my recommendation would be to discuss it through multiple committees and have the board have an opportunity to have a discussion around whether or not to move forward a motion in regards to televising it on the local television station. I'd leave that to the board, but I think from a constructive matter to move forward, I think that's probably the best path forward, and that's what I would recommend. Let's do the audio first, let's see how it sounds, let's make sure that YouTube is working effectively, and then bring it to committee discussion.
So,
I'll withdraw the motion. Oh, well, no, I gotta withdraw the,
She has to withdraw.
Yes.
She has to withdraw.
oh,
But my problem is, since most of us are not in certain committees, I'm only in one committee, which is education, and this is not gonna be discussed in education, obviously. I would love to have this conversation as a board so we can right away know if we're gonna put it on Fair Lawn TV or not, because this is nothing, it's not something sensitive or something controversial, something that is like, that can like, so it's not like personnel, but it's, if it's on YouTube, it can be, should be on Fair Lawn TV, especially since some of our seniors have difficulty operating a computer. Not everybody's perfect at using a computer, and I think it's important to make sure that all our community are able to engage with us. And one way is putting the TV on and seeing how beautiful people our faces on. So-
Stay with that, we're beautiful.
Okay. So let's work on one second.
So I would like our board to decide, if they could decide today.
Okay, so right now, I'm just gonna stop you for a moment. The motion on the floor is to open this for discussion.
That's it. And that was withdrawn by the movement. Are you withdrawing your second?
No. I wouldn't
Okay, so why don't we have a roll call vote on discussing this
So-
issue, please?
This is just to discuss it now.
Yes.
Which we have done.
Can I make a subsidiary motion to
Yes.
refer to committee?
Yes, you may. Is there a second on the subsidiary
Second.
motion? There's a second. The subsidiary motion takes priority. Is there discussion on that motion, or are we gonna have a roll call on the subsidiary motion?
Call the question.
Excuse,
Yeah,
question.
Can we,
What committee?
Policy, I would like to refer it to, because we need to change our
Okay.
policy.
Subsidiary motion to refer this to the policy committee. Do you accept that amendment?
I accept that amendment.
It's been called. Roll call vote, please.
What are we voting on?
Mr. Baldowski?
We, hold the call. We are having a roll call vote on moving this discussion to the policy committee. Everybody understand?
So a yes is to move it, a no is to not.
Yes,
Correct.
ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Mr. Baldowski?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes.
Dr. Bertolini?
No.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Pavelovich?
No.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
No.
Ms. Yorman?
I'm not sure I understand.
So we want to discuss right now.
Or in our policy meeting.
The motion is to defer the discussion of broadcasting on Fair Lawn TV to the next policy meeting so that the board can review the policy that it would impact. Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. We continue with board member comment.
Lisa, are you finished?
Are you done?
Mark?
Yes, Ron, you beat me to it, because I had written, we, the Fair Lawn Board of Education, has shown that we can conduct the meeting with humor, seriousness, and most of all, civility. So kudos to all of us. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Me? Okay, sorry. Ed was distracting me. I would like to congratulate two young men who competed on the snowy January 7th in the Bergen County Championship, fencing championship. Both of these young men, and I apologize if I'm getting the first names wrong because we only see the last names on their fencing jackets or pants. William Ma, who is a men's épée fencer at Fairlawn High School, and Liam Bass, who is a foil fencer at Fairlawn High School. Both of these young men won their weapons individual championship titles on January 7th. So I wanted to congratulate both of them. Mr. Ma won in men's épée after a very, very good bout against, the fencer that I coach, unfortunately for him. But it was a very exciting bout. And Liam Bass won the individual foil championship medal. He's actually pretty exciting, and it'll be exciting to see him continue to fence in the future. He has been recruited by the University of Notre Dame to fence on their fencing team, which is a really, really big deal in the fencing community. Notre Dame is a powerhouse in fencing on the collegiate level, and Liam Bass is too. So I just wanted to congratulate the two of them for braving the elements, getting on a bus, and then spending the majority of their Sunday competing against the other Bergen County fencing teams. So congratulations to them. What?
Ms. Brown,
Did I get a name wrong?
no.
Oh.
Do you have any other comments or questions?
Oh, no, that's it.
Sorry, I
Felt like that.
I know, I'm like,
Apparently
being set up, jeez.
No, I apologize. We just got a weather alert. So. Got derailed. Mr. Veldowski.
I know,
Yeah, Carolyn just got an early dismissal, just got derailed by all the big names.
Nice.
Mr. Veldowski, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I first want to simply recognize that this is School Board Recognition Month across the state of New Jersey, recognizing the Board of Educations across the state. Fairlawn is one of 581 Board of Educations in the state. Within Bergen County, there are more Board of Educations and school districts than there are municipalities. So our state really loves local education and local rule in education. Simply wanted to recognize my fellow board members and all the work that we put in for this as some of the, or I would say the only in our local government uncompensated members of an elected body to serve a community. The only ones that are required to do ethics training. So thank you for the continued service to everybody, and know that it does not go unrecognized. I wanted to also highlight that this year is Fairlawn's 100th anniversary. So as of this month, we have entered the 100th anniversary of Fairlawn. The borough of Fairlawn, founded back in 1924, was really founded on the desire to create our own school district, to control our own school from Saddle River Township. So a lot of our growth as a community is rooted deeply into our school district. I will not be at the February meeting here at the Board of Ed, so I simply wanted to highlight an upcoming event for the 100th anniversary, the kickoff event, which will be March 5th at Borough Hall, where they will be recreating the first Borough Council meeting. So I would recommend, what? Oh, you had something? Okay, no.
I was gonna say Mark was at that.
Oh. Do you remember?
Wow. It was a fine evening.
There was cider and biscuits, I think.
Does that qualify for a hip?
No.
Because I'm part of a
No.
protected class.
Has to have a
What's the
student.
protected class?
What is it?
Has to have a student.
Old in the protected
Yeah.
class?
Reality to the next
Wow.
But I simply want to encourage all of us to take an active role in our borough's celebration, as well as our students to take an active role in celebrating our community. I will note that the first Board of Education was organized in 1925 June 30th, 1925. So I want to put it on our radars that next year we may need to recreate our first Board of Ed meeting. So if somebody can find those minutes, if somebody can find those minutes, that would be great.
I don't think so.
I don't, okay.
We'd be happy to look into that.
Thank
for
you.
Mr. Bauhaus.
And the last thing, somewhere at file banks. The last thing I wanted to simply comment on. Thank you. Martin Luther King Day programming. I know that we do a lot of programming prior to the day off since it is a district holiday. But I do know that surrounding districts have some sort of programming on the day of volunteerism to be a day of service. One local town, Bergenfield, I had seen a lot. They had they invited local officials to come to it and celebrate Martin Luther King's honor with students organizing the volunteerism, high school students organizing the day, and then the middle school and elementary school kids partaking in the service event. If we could create something next year along those lines, possibly to provide an opportunity on that day off as a day of service. I know we already do a lot around it, so I'm not saying we missed that. But if there's something we can add to enhance it, I would love to see that. Thank you.
Ms. Edelich.
So since it's the budget season and since last year, I've been asking for the administration to think of other enrichment after-school activities for elementary school. Currently, we have 3 and we eliminated 1. So I'm hoping that this year the district will provide a little bit more money than $50,000, since last year was $50,000. And last year they said they will do some surveys and figure out what other things that the students like. They did the survey. I have asked for, and it's like, what have they come up with the survey? What is the summary? I was told I would get that already 5 months ago. I'm still waiting for it to be sent to me. So I'm hoping that the administration can put more money into it and do more activities for the kids after school. I remember last year we used to get about 4 to 5 emails a week about how their kids cannot get into the after school program because it was all filled up. It was so popular, and it was always, I want my child in, let's open more things. So I was hoping, more sections. I'm hoping that we can do more activities for them after school. This is for elementary school only. Last month, we were talking about CTE, and I was hoping the administration will provide us an update on when will the board get a definition of what CTE means to the administration, because I feel like my definition of CTE is a little different than the administration's definition of CTE, so I want to understand where you're coming from with the course loads that are part of our district goals. Another thing I would like to I would like somehow this to be addressed is there were committee meetings yesterday, but no committee minutes were ever supplied. And in order for us to be able to have committee meetings and have trust and build, there should be minutes right away in order, since we had meeting today and there were things on the committee meetings that are part of the agenda that some of us knew, some of us had to call, some of us kind of figured out. I feel like if we're gonna have committee meetings, they have to be, minutes have to be given at least 24 hours after the meeting has transpired. Otherwise, sometimes we wait weeks for the committee meetings, and that's a problem because I don't know what 2 weeks would happen. And then when you call someone and say, hey, I don't remember. It was such a long time ago. So I feel like it would be better if we can have our committee minutes 24 hours after the committee has had. The next thing I would like to discuss, I've been discussing this with everyone on the board. I discussed it with all the administrators on the board about the NJ Well 1% for the healthcare cost. Our district goal says that we mental health for faculty, for our employees. So the NJ Well is we save 1% of our healthcare, and according to our auditor, it's about $10 million a year. So the 1% will be $100,000 a year. So I would like to make a motion for us to discuss and get an update on how, when will this program be, if anybody has a position, because everybody I spoke with said they love it, it's a great program, but nothing has been transpired. At least not that I know, no updates were provided. So my motion will be to discuss and provide an update for the NJ well, for the 1%.
I make a subsidiary motion. I'd like to refer that to the finance committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the subsidiary motion?
Call the question?
If it's referred to the finance committee, can we put in a definite date when this review will be completed and reported back to the board?
But the problem with.
So,
the-
hold
I
on,
agree with-
respectfully, that's a question to the move-in. And do you want to amend your motion to impose some
Put it on the next
timeframe?
finance committee.
Okay.
I can't give, after that, I can't,
Yeah, I don't-
you have the meeting, and then we have to present it to the board as a whole, but I think it should be finance committee first. I agree, we talked about this in Atlantic City. I agree, I haven't heard a word from you about it since.
I talked to everyone.
I know,
on the
I know, but
board.
I haven't heard a word from you about it since when we talked about it, and I agree. But there's a process, and bringing it up at a public meeting at 9 o'clock, when nobody's prepared for it, not really the best way to do it.
All right.
You have a finance committee meeting, I think it makes more sense.
All
We
right.
had Mr. Bertolini call the question.
I did.
Roll call.
Excuse me,
Wait, what are you voting?
what, is there going to be a definite
Yeah,
date
he
then
just-
at the
he
next
said
meeting?
The next
February.
finance committee
Okay,
meeting, which
that's
will
fine.
be in February sometime, I'll talk to Dave.
That's fine.
So we vote yes, so we send to finance.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody understand the motion?
A vote of yes sends it to the finance committee for February. A vote of no would be we discuss it on the floor.
Right, but is the motion gonna include February?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, got it.
Call the roll.
Mr. Baldowski,
Yes.
Mr. Banta,
Yes.
Mr. Bertolini, I'm
Yes.
sorry, Dr. Bertolini.
Yeah, either way.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Favela,
No.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes,
Ms. Yurman,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
motion passes.
Ms. Eilish, are you finished?
Are my questions being answered about the enrichment CT and the committee meetings? When will we have, because committee meetings happen and I got no
So I
minutes.
just want to, I can actually start. So in regards to committee agendas and minutes, we are going to be working as a collaborative board to help you all better toggle our Outlook emails as well as our Google emails. So our fairlawnschools.org as well as our Fairlawn SDS emails. For those of you that do not toggle back and forth, you are not receiving emails and Google Apps. You did receive the Personnel Committee agenda and minutes for personnel at 9:15 this morning.
I think I only sent that to you.
Oh,
I didn't send it to the full board.
well, then my apologies. So what we are going to do, what you did note from
And I'll just
the
add,
questions.
the reason is because that was our first agenda minutes. So I, as superintendent, and I have not had an opportunity yet to discuss it with our board president around what our process would be in regards to should it go to the, and she's also the chair of that committee, in order to run it through the chair, which has been my past practice in other districts, before it then gets disseminated. So being that it's the first agenda, we are going to be establishing a cadence for sharing those out. At the board retreat as well, I will be doing a training for the board to be able to teach some skills around how to utilize Google. So make sure I answer any questions, kind of work everybody through, because we have a whole system in place in order to be able to just upload all of the documents and notify folks when those are uploaded in Google Drive. So you'll be able to have instantaneous access to those minutes.
I want to thank you, because at that first board meeting in 1925. So I want to thank you very
You've
much.
come a long way. You've come a long way, Mr. Spindell.
So we will be starting to share those out through Google. And with Dr. Dionisio's support, we are going to get everyone as fluent as possible. In regards to an update on CTE, I'm actually going to defer to our administration. However, you are not the only one who has that question. I have met in collaboration with Mr. Baldowski with a variety of our board members thus far, and it does appear that many people have a similar question. So after I do finish meeting with Mr. Valdoxy, with any other board member who is interested, all of those concerns and questions will be shared with Dr. Dionisio and the rest of the central office administration, so that some of that information can be provided back out to our board.
When do you think we're gonna have that?
So I don't know if you're prepared to answer your definition of CTA. I think that.
No, I think that's a conversation for another day through a committee, and we could also do a presentation at a future meeting. But CTE is in alignment with how the state defines CTE. So that's essentially the definition, right? So when I referenced my comments earlier during my superintendent's report, as it relates to CTE and the presentation that we will be doing in May and June, it's tied to what the state requirements are.
Your question in response to money for enrichment and after-school activities, I do ask that you formally send a written email to the chairperson of
I did
finance.
that last year 3 times already.
Right, so,
It
and it
did
was
work.
discussed and voted upon last year. So I'm just gonna ask that you do it again, because we do have a new chairperson for finance.
It was not discussed. I brought it, I sent it many times. Never, there was never enough
Stop.
time.
So, I can identify that it was discussed, last year in Education Small, and it was determined that at that point in time, the finances were not going to be increased. My suggestion would be that as per our procedure, that you send an email to our new finance and B&G and formally request that. He has already offered to put something else on the agenda, so I would highly recommend that we find that course of action to be the most appropriate one. Did I miss any of your
And the
questions?
results of the survey for the enrichment, when will the board get it? It was promised 5 months ago.
So do you have?
Well, I think the process is right, that what you're reiterating is that that goes through committee, so that goes through the committee chair.
I will look into the results of that survey, and I will get back to you by Tuesday of next week. Does anybody else have any questions? The floor is open. Michael, Mr. Rosenberg.
A couple of things. First of all, it's good that we're laughing and stuff, but we're going back, it seems to me, to what we were doing last year. We have a new superintendent. We have new committees. We have a new board member. We have a new president and vice president that haven't had the role yet. God, government doesn't work that fast. It just doesn't, because there's procedures that have to be followed. And it's not fair, I don't think, to treat people like that. And as far as getting minutes out within a day, I don't think that that's fair, personally. It's not fair. We have committees, and they're there for a reason. Let's use them. Let's use them. And then if you don't agree with what the committee does, then you have a chance to rebuttal at the meeting. So, but let's people have lives too, and our administration, certainly, you never know what's going to come up from day to day with the administration. They might have every opportunity, they might think that they have every opportunity to get minutes done and sent out, and then a crisis happens in one of our schools, because crises never happen in our schools, right?
Never.
Never. So the other thing I want to say is that we have 55, I have to look at the exact number, roughly 5,600 kids in this district. A lot of times when we see numbers of things happening, when you look at that we have.
5644.
What?
That was close, 5644.
When you have 5,600 kids in the district, and you have 10 kids getting in trouble, that's not necessarily a crisis. It's unfortunate. There's certain things that keep coming up with HIVs, for example, just an example. There's certain things that keep coming up, but we need to teach our kids stuff, and parents need to teach their kids that certain things are not, in this day and age, are just not acceptable. But whether you're gonna get that through the heads of the kids, no matter what you do, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I do agree with the community school that maybe the community school, they used to do Broadway plays and they used to do stuff like that all the time. So I agree with looking into that. And the last thing I want to say is I'm very impressed, Dr. Denizio, with the amount of stuff that's going on social media, the positive stuff that our kids are doing every day in schools, whether it's sports awards, whether it's colleges that they're getting into, very prestigious colleges that they're getting into, and academic stuff. I've never seen so much come out of the district, and I knew that they were going on, but I'm very impressed with what's going out from the administration. Thanks.
Does anybody have, I know, I just want to make sure that there isn't anybody that has not spoken that would like the floor.
I agree with Michael in what he said, however, I do want to make one, I'm not done. I do want to make one recommendation, because I also agree with Rita. So my recommendation is, if you're going to have a committee meeting, and those minutes are not able to be sent out to the other board members, then in all honesty, how can the other board members make a decision on no information being distributed? So if that's going to happen, then I would appreciate that the board agenda item be pulled until the following month, when it can be discussed or can be reviewed. And that would satisfy Michael's and Rita's comments.
It's a good idea.
Does anybody else have any comments, questions? Lisa?
And I agree with Mr. Spindell, Mr. Rosenberg, and Ms. Randall.
Mark, did you make a motion there or no?
I want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
You don't have to do it.
No.
All in favor, yeah.
I thought you made a motion.
I didn't hear this.
Yep.
That's all in favor.
Trying to get back there.
So,
So our upcoming meetings, I really wish this was touchscreen. We have February 22nd is our next regular monthly board meeting here at Edison School Room 19 at 7:30 p.m. On March 7th, on February 24th will be our board retreat at the high school library beginning at, oh my God, I think it was 8:30, right?
I apologize, I'll be in Ireland.
We're missing the.
Why can't we, I'd like to make
I'm
a
sorry,
motion
excuse
to
me.
move the meeting to Ireland.
Guys, I just want to please let me just get through this one thing. March 7th, 2024 is our tentative work session budget presentation at 7:30, Edison School Room 19. March 14th is our tentative preliminary budget adoption at 7:30, and Edison School will be hosting cake for my birthday. On April 18th, 2024 is our regular monthly board meeting at 7:30 p.m., Edison School Room 19. May 2nd, 2024 is a tentative public hearing budget adoption at 7:30 Edison School Route 19. Please keep in mind there is a possibility of changes or additions, and these will be updated by the administration or our next agenda should that be required. Can I have we don't have close, correct?
We do not, and I believe a motion to adjourn was made.
A motion to
And
adjourn
second.
was Michael, and can I have a second? Second, Mark, Michael. adjourned.
Wow.
Have a good evening, everyone stay safe.
So the May meeting's May 30th, right? Julie, the May meeting's May 30th.
Quinn.